Yeah. Every 2 hours, like you were calling out in your blog, it's an investment. Like anytime you're keeping on using it, it's an investment in that thing.
You're pouring more into that thing,
right?
Which makes it harder to walk away from. Yep.
Okay, so the first point that you pull out in your blog is the idea of sunk cost. Let's dig into sunk cost a little bit more. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the idea of sunk cost is you'll get yourself in a situation pretty quickly. Like let's say you're running your financials, which we did for a while, right? You'll be built, like it starts with a simple, I imported some data and I'm doing a pivot chart from it, right? And then pretty quickly you realize, well, it would be nice if I had another calculation on this data so that I could show another facet, so that I could understand something, at a different level. And so you'll add that, and then somebody new will come along and have another idea about something that would be useful. And so you'll add that to it. And then before you know it, you're managing basically something that's 7 layers deep. 7-layer dip would be a way to look at it. And in order to do anything with that, in order to move away from it, all of a sudden it becomes very difficult because you've invested so much already.
Yeah.
And you can't possibly wrap your mind around how easy it could be to move to a different system that could just do those things, or most of them, 90% of them out of the box, maybe.
Right. Yeah. What if they feel like they have something so custom now?
Right. Because if you live in that world for 5 years and you've been making those changes, you know deeply about all of those calculations, and you're, in some ways, you become partial to them, and nobody else could possibly understand what you've done, right? And so the amount of effort that you perceive it will take to unwind all of that and do something different is insurmountable, right? And after all, you've already invested what you've invested, so you might as well keep using it.
Yeah. So, which is, the whole premise of the topic of, it's a trap, right? It's like digging your own grave. Like every day you're using it, the further and further it goes.
Yeah. And once you're in, it becomes very hard to get out. Like it took us quite a bit of rethinking to be willing to move away from the system that we had.
I think a trap I fell in once as an employee is a boss had asked me, hey, could you create a spreadsheet that shows data this way, with this on top, this on below, these types of graphs? And I could create it. It took many days and a lot of finagling with different, merging different things. I created it, sent it to him. He loved it. Now I wanted that every week.
Yeah.
And I think that just speaks to you're digging your own grave of you can do whatever you want in Excel, customize it completely, but you have to think about how much time you're actually spending to create that. Right. Because then once you get it and you like it, hang on a second, is this actually worth the output that we're creating? Is it worth how much time you're spending managing it?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were just talking to a client the other day about how their customer needs reports. And one of the employees there has to finagle all the data regularly.
We all do it. Right.
And it's a little bit painful. And so we're opening a dialogue about some of the ways that can be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the way to look at it. And it's tough because not only did you do the work to build all of those things, and so you think, well, it's too hard to rebuild that in something else or to find something else that will do those things. But you're right. The cost associated with and the time that you spend feeding that system with new data every week or every day or however often you do it, multiply that times 52.
Yes.
2 hours a week times 52, it adds up pretty quick. And you built that system for yourself. You kind of built the cell around yourself, right? You put the bars, the bricks, and all for good purpose, right?
Right. Yeah. Every 2 hours, like you were calling out in your blog, it's an investment. Like anytime you're keeping on using it, it's an investment in that
You're
thing.
pouring more into that thing,
right?
Which makes it harder to walk away from. Yep.
And I like you called out one statement was you shouldn't wait for disaster before you pick your head up.
Yeah.
I think that is so common it needs to get really bad before someone realizes.
Yeah, we often choose the path of least resistance, right? So whatever's the least painful thing we're going to do. So if you're in that system where you're spending 2 hours a week feeding it with data, right? Maybe you're adding some formulas, like that's the easy thing to do, as opposed to rethinking how you're doing it and should you be using a different system or a different tool. So you keep choosing the easy thing. But one day, something terrible will happen, disaster will strike, and then what becomes the easy thing to do, right? You'll be forced into a situation and it will completely upset and distract you from the mission that you should have. And you'll be spending a week and a half, 2 weeks finding a new solution or fixing a spreadsheet or trying to recover a file that got deleted inadvertently. Right?
Or potentially choosing the wrong solution, right? Because you're in
a hurry.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from our podcast, Make Others Successful. If you want to see more, head on over to our new channel where you can find full episodes and other helpful clips.